Welcome to Tansson TV Plus. Of course, I'm Brandon.
And I'm Mom.
Yes, and welcome back. We're so happy to have you.
Yeah, thank you for joining us again today.
Yeah, and Mom, how are you doing today?
I am doing just fine, Brandon. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, and Mom, I'm very excited to get into today's video.
Yes, today we're talking about Three's a Crowd.
Yes, this is a continuation series of Three's Company.
Yes, it is.
And Mom, can you do us the honors of letting us know the description of the first episode?
I sure will. In this particular episode, Jack and Vicky have not lived together long. Jack has not told everyone about living with Vicky. And so Jack's older aunt May comes to visit, and he doesn't want to tell her that he lives with Vicky without being married. And so that's in essence the episode itself. And one last thing happens in this episode: Jack hires Easy.
Well, Mom, thank you so much for that.
You're welcome, Brandon.
And continuing on with the description of the rest of the series. So, overall, the series entails Jack as a restaurant owner while also trying to manage his new relationship with Vicky and having to deal with Vicky's father repeatedly running his life.
Yes.
And Mom, what did you think of this first episode titled Family Affair?
Actually, Brandon, it's been years and years and years since I've seen this, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was a very cute and nice episode. So I was surprised. I thought I remembered all of the Three's a Crowd series, but I actually did not remember this particular episode. And so I really enjoyed it.
I likewise enjoyed it, and it's been definitely a while since I've seen anything outside the Ropers and the Three's Company universe, and so it was really nice to revisit the first episode.
Yes, it sure was.
And just so the audience knows, it originally aired on September 25th of 1984. And so, Mom, since you said that you enjoyed the episode, what would you say your favorite part is about this first episode?
Is Billy Bird. I've always liked Billy Bird, and so I think she's a really nice. She has a really nice personality on screen, and so I thought she played the character really well of being Jack's aunt. And then I also like Ez. This is his first episode also, and I like the way he was introduced into the series.
And so this episode here introduces the overall dynamic for the rest of the series with Jack and Vicky now living together with their father. And overall, what do you think of the dynamic between the three of them in this episode?
Well, they've just got an interesting dynamic in itself. I mean, we know that Jack actually does want to marry Vicky. He initially said that, but he agreed to live with her. We know that Vicky has some deep resentment towards marriage in regards to her parents and their divorce. We know that her father is a meddling guy. He means well, but he just kind of meddles. And so that dynamic there kind of makes it actually a fun one to watch, between watching him and what he wants Jack to do or what he does not want Jack to do. The same with what he does and does not want his daughter to do, and how they're all just kind of mingled in together. And he is, of course, Jack's boss, which is fun to watch too. It leads for the storylines that occurred for the series.
And overall, I mean, just watching the episode, does this feel like a first episode to you?
It did feel like a first episode to me because it did start from the beginning point. We kind of led to know what Jack's feelings are, that he's not ready to tell a lot of people about his relationship with Vicky. And so that just kind of lays the groundwork on what, to me, what some of the series is struggling with, or the characters in the series are struggling with.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, while I definitely can feel that's first episode in the part that the interactions with Jack's Aunt May, in the same regard, I feel like it doesn't do as much of the verbatim, oh, hi, Vicky, hi, Jack, how are you doing, my lover, as much as traditional pilots do, but I definitely do feel the first episode vibe.
Yeah, you're right about the fact that it doesn't lend itself to some of the typical things of new pilots in regards to trying to establish all of the who's who and what are they doing. But because it was kind of come from an established show, I think the assumption is that people watched the previous show to know who Vicky was. They may not have known the father, but they would have known who Vicky was if they watched Three's Company.
Yeah, and we'll definitely touch on that in just a moment. But yeah, I definitely do fully agree that many of the viewers would just carried over, and so as such, you don't need as much of a formal interaction or introduction, rather. But in the same regard, we also are watching the syndicated versions, so I don't know what they may or may not have cut out of the original aired version that may have had a little bit more of that backstory.
Yes, very true. Very true.
And speaking of things that were trimmed down a little bit, let's speak about the theme song.
Yeah, I was highly disappointed that at least the version we saw, the theme song was already cut. Well, cut down, I should say, because I remember, of course, the long version, and I had to go and find that long version so that I could feel better about myself. But yes, I do like the theme song for Three's a Crowd. Very nice, very catchy. It is, it's your typical 80s theme song. And so I really kind of liked it. What do you think, Fran?
Oh, I definitely love it. And, for a little bit of background, I pretty much binged the whole Three's Company universe back in late middle school. And so I haven't seen that much of it since then. But all that to say, though, is it wasn't until a couple years ago when I actually, for me, the inverse, that I found out about the long version because I'd only seen it in the syndicated reruns. And so, of course, having now seen the full version, it's hard to watch the cut down version. So I definitely agree with you.
Yeah, I had no idea, like I said, that they cut the version down like that. It's highly disappointing. But for those of you guys who are actually watching it, or if you're able to watch it someplace right now, um, keep in mind there is another theme song. Just kind of YouTube it and you'll find it.
Oh, absolutely. And Mom, is there anything else that you want to mention specifically for this first episode of Freeze a Crowd?
No, there is not anything I'd like to bring up except for the fact that initially, for the first few episodes anyway, that there weren't any carryovers for people in regards to Three's Company. And so to me that stood out because sometimes, for first or second episodes, if especially for a show that's coming directly after a show ends, there will be someone who kind of goes along with it or at least visits. And in the first couple episodes, this doesn't happen.
That's absolutely true. In fact, the only non-main character carryover person that's ever shown up was Larry much later in the series.
Yes, yes, very true.
And going back into what we were saying a little bit earlier, of course, this is a continuation of Freeze Company. And let's go ahead and dive into the end of that show.
All righty, Brandon.
Yeah, so as we've been mentioning, Freeze Company originally aired for 8 seasons prior to Freeze a Crowd beginning. And overall, it had a pretty decent following. I mean, of course, it had been around for quite a while and had its own twists and turns and changes within its cast throughout the show. But when the show was finally retired, they took an interesting approach.
Yeah, they did. They did. They decided to give Jack his own series and gave him with the help of Vicky. He actually ended up being in a relationship with Vicky, and they let them live together. But they did what I liked is that they gave closure to the other series also.
Yeah, and for those who are tuning into this video, it may not be familiar with Three's Company. Are you able to give a very brief synopsis of overall what that show's about?
Yeah, Three's Company is about 3 people who live together. We have 1 gentleman and 2 females, and they share an apartment together. Because all 3 of them are living together, not everyone was happy about that. And so that's where Mr. Furley, their landlord, comes in, and he is actually a main character in this series. And we have some other landlords also, but Mr. Furley's the one who actually ended the series.
Yeah, and going with that, we have the series ending out where the final 4 episodes introduce a new lover for one of the roommates, Janet, and the show ends out with her getting married and living with her new husband, Philip.
Yes, yes, we are given a closure for Janet, but then we're also given closure for Terry. Also, Terry's their other roommate, and she is going to go to Hawaii to continue being a nurse.
And I will mention that we went ahead and watched the final episode is a two-part titled "Friends and Lovers," the series finale of Three's Company. And what do you overall think about that as an episode?
Well, actually, I've forgotten more than I actually thought I did for that particular episode. I thought I had most of it memorized, but yeah, I thought it was a nice episode. I thought they did it. They did a good job of bringing closure to the one series, and I like that they actually gave them a chance to have some closure, and so I really did enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it as well, and I thought it was so interesting because I would say half of the episode was truly spent for giving that closure to to the world of Freeze Company, but then opening a new door for Jack to continue on with his new girlfriend, who, as you mentioned before, he proposed to Vicky. Vicky turned him down, and then they ended up living together. And this was all in part because of Jack's conversation with Terry towards the end of the series, where she's using Jack's advice that he gave to Janet, saying, if you really love each other, that's all that matters.
Yeah, yeah, and he takes that to heart, and therefore they go and they're together.
But I'm pretty sure that Jack didn't expect that not only was he becoming a new family, so to speak, with Vicky, that he would also become family with Mr. Bradford.
Yes, he has inherited a quote unquote father-in-law. So yes, yeah, and which kind of brings the humor into the relationship.
Yeah, I mean, it really does. And overall, what do you think about Mr. Bradford as a character?
I thought Mr. Bradford. I think he's a pretty good character on the show. I like the way he's portrayed, so I do like the way he's kind of characterized in the show.
Yeah, I really do as well. And overall, I like the way that one series leads into another. And we spoke about a different show, The Golden Palace, that was somewhat of a continuation of the series The Golden Girls. But even though this is a similar concept in that it's one show that leads into another, this one takes it in a very different way in how it is done.
Yeah, they do. It's done in a different way, in the fact that it is truly it occurs the next week.
Yes, whereas the Golden Palace took place one TV season later, practically as a extra season of the Golden Girls, if you will, eighth season de facto. Meanwhile, Freeze a Crowd truly begins where Freeze Company leaves off, where they actually end off the final scene of Freeze Company by showing the Freeze Company logo and then changing it to Freeze a Crowd, and it says premiere next week.
Yep, they do.
And overall, I mean, considering that, for this video, we watch the final episode of Freeze Company and the first episode of Freeze the Crowd, would you say that it feels like it can work one right after the other?
Yeah, actually, I do. I think it does. It is able to work one right after the other.
Yeah, I definitely believe so as well. And I thought it was so interesting because whereas, and I sort of compare contrast, whereas the Golden Palace, they sort of wrap up everything that you need to know about the Golden Girls within these first few minutes. I feel like, Freeze Company and Freeze a Crowd does the opposite, where everything that you need to know about Freeze Company was wrapped up within those final episodes of Freeze Company, but it also does all the setup for Freeze a Crowd, where Freeze a Crowd's first episode is, an episode of its own, and it just is a new series while also continuing with the character of Jack that we already have known and established over 8 seasons.
I know, and I was trying to remember if they even mentioned Terry or Janet in that episode, and I don't think they did. Brandon, please correct me. Do you remember them mentioning them?
At least in the versions I've seen, no. I don't believe so.
Okay. Yeah, so they really wanted this to be a standalone show.
And and this season only lasted a single season. And overall, do you feel like it could have gone on for more?
Actually, I think it could have gone on for more. I really do.
Yeah, I certainly do as well. I mean, I really enjoy the dynamic between them, but in the same regard, where there's, shows can't last forever. I know the Jack character had at this point been on for essentially almost 9 years, 8.5 years, and so perhaps that dynamic is as to why the show did not continue. Although I did do a little bit of research, and apparently ABC was actually going to give it a second season, but it was going to be shorter. And the cast and crew said, "We want a full season, or you don't make it at all." And ABC said, "We're not going to make it at all."
Wow. Wow. It makes you wonder what they would have done differently, or at least to enhance the second season. That would have been interesting to see.
Yeah, it really would have, but the series overall lasted for 22 episodes.
That's more than our series are lasting now, so that's incredible.
Yeah, it definitely is. And for a little bit of a connection, this is not the first sort of spin off of Freeze Company that we've spoken about on the channel.
Oh, yeah, tell us about that, Brandon.
Yeah, so we previously have spoken about sister series, The Ropers.
Yeah, we did, and which is a nice show to watch. The Ropers make me giggle.
Oh, absolutely. And so just for a little bit of context, The Ropers is about the original landlords of Freeze Company, and that now Freeze a Crowd were able to get their own show about Jack. And yeah, I would have loved to see a little bit more as to the little escapades that Jack and Terry and Mr. Bradford would have had. But nevertheless, I'm glad that we even got this continuation.
Yep, same here, Brandon. Same here.
And I did want to quickly mention too, while the Ropers got 2 seasons, they only had 6 more episodes more than Freeze a Crowd's 1 season.
Oh wow, I would have thought it would have been longer, but yeah,
But yeah, I mean, so it's definitely so interesting, to look back at this. And of course, all 3 series are based off of British shows. And so, in the British version of the show that inspired Freeze a Crowd, called Robin's Nest, the couple actually ended up getting married.
oh wow, okay, I didn't know that either.
And yeah, and so it's overall pretty interesting, diving through the history. And so I would have loved to see, if the show would have ever made it to that point, later on, if it had continued on.
Yeah,
And Mom, I know that we started rating these shows not that long ago.
yeah, we did. And say if I rate the show from 1 to 5, 5 being the greatest or highest number, I think I would give this one a 4. Of course, not the best, but it was I think it still was a solid show, so I'd give it a 4 out of 5.
Oh, I fully agree. I definitely believe that the show had character and that it was a overall very strong entry for a new show. I mean, continuing right where the other one left off, but in the same regard, maybe not the best show, but I thought it was pretty good on its own.
Yep, it was. And Brandon, tell us about our connections.
Yeah, so we do have some connections with the show. We're going to go ahead and start off with the guest connection, and that is with Jack's Aunt May.
Yes, tell us about Billy Bird. Where did we see her before?
Yeah, so the most prominent appearance that we've seen Billy Bird in was in Benson, where she was in the final season and a half of the show.
Yes.
And we also very briefly saw her in Home Alone as well.
Okay. Yes, and like I said, I know Billy Bird from a lot of different shows, so yes.
Yes. And the actress that plays Vicky, we've also seen her as well, and that was in the first episode of Murphy Brown that we watched.
Yep, and that was fun. We just watched it recently, Brandon. So it was really neat to see her play that role.
Yeah, and I really like that Freeze the Crowd sort of continues on the tradition of Freeze Company and having physical comedy, which I think really sells the show.
Yes.
And we do have one other connection as well.
Oh, what's that, Brandon?
So the director of the episode, he had previously also directed the first episode of The Ropers that we watched.
Okay. Oh, that's good to know.
Yes, and that person was Dave Powers.
Okay.
And Mom, to the best of my knowledge, I think that actually wraps up our connections for the week.
All right, Brandon. That is great. Like I said, I really enjoyed watching Three's a Crowd, and hopefully our viewers have seen it also. Let us know. Did you have a preference for Three's Company or Three's a Crowd? Yeah, be interested to know.
Yeah, and so who's your favorite character? Let us know.
Yep, yeah, let us know. What are your thoughts of EZ?
Well, Mom, as always, I love doing this with you.
I like doing this with you also, Brandon. So we thank everybody for joining us today.
And we definitely hope that you continue watching us this month.
All right, and we'll see you next time.
Have a wonderful day.
All right, bye-bye, everybody.